Zach did the trip with me, and his mom, he's not a cancer survivor himself, but his mother had breast cancer in her late 50s and has been, surviving for I think about 10 years now. And so he came with me and he sort of did it in commemoration of his mother, and he built another website like mine, and he raised money on his own. So we were both doing this at the same time. And so we had everything sponsored, like our shoes, Teresa sponsored, and kind of all our gear, my food, which was mostly nuts and dried fruits. I spent an entire day in the supermarket measuring calories per ounce and rejecting things because they weren't enough. And some of the people had a lot of fun with it, right? They had me write sort of silly things on my stuff, and some people just sort of volunteered things, and I had fun with it. My friend Kafir sponsored my toiletries, so we got the TP bag. And then, but one was the other sort of amazing thing, sort of going back to the sharing idea, was how a lot of people shared things with me that I didn't really know before, and some of them were good friends, and some of them were total strangers. This was one of my mom's friends, and they had a daughter who recently had a kid, and she had died of breast cancer just about a year prior. And so, I got things like, we'll sponsor your whole tent, but I want a picture of her in a nice spot. So there we go. That was the nicest spot I could find in 220 miles. And then this was a daily occurrence, crossing streams. It was a big snow year, and we were in an epic battle to keep our feet dry, which we lost almost every day. That was kind of what we did every day, all the time. So this is Zach. He was my resident advisor my freshman year of college, and this is us on day one. We look very healthy and full of energy and clean shaven. And my friend Brian volunteered to drive us up and drop us off, so we did that. And this is the beginning of the hike, 211 miles, and then 10 miles to get off. So the first day we were able to hike without any weight on our backs. We hiked pretty much all the way through Yosemite, back to our gear, which we had stashed at the other end. And fortunately, no one messed with it. So we did a little planning, and then got up the next day, and we're pretty much up into this by the afternoon. It was absolutely stunning. And the snow makes for better pictures, but it does make for much slower travel. So I hope you appreciate that. And then on day 3, I had a friend and his wife come in and hike in and make us carnitas. And that was, again, another thing. It just really kind of, people were volunteering to do all sorts of amazing things. To take their weekend and drive up to the Sierras and come in and cook us food and carry out our trash for us, which was just exceptional. And then a lot of the passes looked like this. And every time we got to one of these, we started to slow down because this snow was kind of slushy and melting, and you kind of break through. But then you get up to the top, and it looked like this. And this was actually, I think, my favorite pass. If you ever get a chance to go to this Silver Pass, it looks like this, and it is just spectacular. And it was kind of awesome because the day before, we were over here. Yeah. I don't recommend doing 22 miles a day for future reference if you decide to hike the John Muir Trail. But it was kind of cool to see that. And then this is us 110 miles in, getting our resupply from this very nice young woman, Susan. And at this point, we were on track. I had developed a bit of a shin splint, and I was using a lot of ibuprofen, but we were on pace, and we were actually able to push ahead of pace into Kings Canyon. We were 5 miles ahead of schedule, but that very next day, we ran into Muir Pass, which had 6 miles of slushy, and so we got stuck up here at Muir Hut. And it was kind of at this point, on day 6, that we realized that our goal of doing it in 10 days just wasn't going to happen. Just the snow in my leg was not going to allow this to work out. And so we spent the night in the stone hut, which was great because it was warm, but it was kind of like an emotional low point, even though we were really up high. The next day, well, actually that's the evening. It was lovely up there, but we're next day we hiked all the way down, which was really aggravating to my leg, and it was that point that I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make this. But we pushed through and got up and camped the very next day, or that evening, at the base of Mammoth Pass, which supposedly we've been talking to all these people who were coming north on the Pacific Crest Trail, and they're like, this is the worst pass. It took us 6 hours to get over it. So we spent the night at the very base, around 11,500 feet, at literally the last tree. That was the last tree. And got up the next morning when the snow was still nice and firm. It was like the only time it wasn't slushy. We were actually able to get up and over in about 2 hours. And so again, our spirits were like really high. Like we went from being really low, I didn't think I was going to make it, and then like we're back on track. And I'd just like to point out, like on this side, or on one side of the pass of Mather, it was like kind of lush, and on the other side it like turned into a moonscape like almost immediately. It was really great. The night at 12,000 feet, and then the next night we spent at 11,500 feet. And my friend Zach, a couple years prior, his daughter had scraped his cornea. And when that happens, it heals, but for some people it never heals completely. And so we think that because of the combination of the stress and the altitude and the lack of humidity, the layers of skin on his cornea started to delaminate, which sounds as bad as it sounds. He described it as having sandpaper stuck in his eye. And so that evening, we had to call the trip. We said, between my leg and his eye, like we had to leave. Unfortunately, leaving was 20 miles away. And Zach was amazing. He'd been incredibly supportive of me while I had to sort of nurse my leg. And then I sort of had to lead him with one eye up and over that, which was really quite astounding. He was really amazing. Didn't complain once. And then up at the top of this, we ran into these guys who volunteered to drive us back to our car. And so we did. We took that. We totally took that. This is us on the last bit of the John Muir Trail that we were able to hike. We had to leave about 30 miles short of our destination, which was very sad, and I'm not going to lie, a little disappointing. But at the same time, I think we got what we wanted out of the trip. We challenged ourselves. We knew that we could push ourselves both mentally and physically. We made good decisions. Leaving was absolutely the right thing to do. And we were able to share our experience and raise some money and make everybody feel a little better about those people that they had lost or people that were still around. And that's what I have to say about that.